Behaviorism is a psychological theory that focuses on observable behaviors and the ways they are acquired through interaction with the environment. From this perspective, language is considered a learned behavior rather than an innate ability. Proponents of behaviorism, most notably B.F. Skinner, argue that language acquisition occurs through the same principles that govern other behaviors such as conditioning, reinforcement, and imitation. Language is seen as a form of behavior that can be objectively measured. Verbal behavior, such as speaking, listening, and writing, is shaped by external stimuli. When children are exposed to language, they respond with sounds, words, and sentences. Positive reinforcement, like praise or attention from caregivers, encourages the repetition of correct speech, while incorrect forms are often ignored or corrected. Over time, this process leads to the development of complex language skills. Imitation plays a central role in language learning according to behaviorism. Children listen to adults and peers and attempt to replicate the words and phrases they hear. Repetition of correct forms is reinforced, gradually shaping more sophisticated language abilities. Another mechanism, shaping, refers to reinforcing successive approximations of a target behavior. For example, a child may first learn to say a simple word, then a short phrase, and eventually a complete sentence. Each stage reinforced until mastery is achieved. Conditioning is also important in the behaviorist view. Operant conditioning explains how behavior can be influenced by consequences. When a child produces a sound or word that matches what is expected, they receive reinforcement, increasing the likelihood of repeating it. Conversely, lack of reinforcement or gentle correction may decrease undesirable patterns. Classical conditioning may also contribute to associations between words and objects, actions, or events, helping children understand meaning through repeated pairings. Critics of the behaviorist approach argue that it does not fully account for the creative and generative aspects of language, such as the ability to produce novel sentences never heard before. Despite this limitation, behaviorism provides a valuable framework for understanding how reinforcement, imitation, and environmental factors contribute to the acquisition of language, particularly in early childhood and in structured learning environments. Behaviorism has also influenced practical applications in language teaching, such as repetition, drills, modeling, and reinforcement strategies, which remain widely used in classrooms and therapy sessions for language development. Second language learning is the process by which a person acquires a language that is not their native tongue, often referred to as L2 acquisition. Unlike first language acquisition, which happens naturally and unconsciously during early childhood, second language learning usually involves more conscious effort, planning, and practice. It requires mastering new sounds, vocabulary, grammar, and cultural conventions while integrating them into meaningful communication. Success in learning a second language depends on multiple factors, including cognitive abilities, motivation, social interaction, exposure to the language, and the learner's age. Several perspectives explain how second language learning occurs. The behaviorist perspective emphasizes learning through imitation, repetition, and reinforcement. According to this view, learners acquire a second language by hearing correct forms from teachers or native speakers, repeating them, and receiving positive feedback for correct usage. Over time, these reinforced behaviors become habitual, allowing learners to communicate effectively. Classroom activities based on this approach often include drills, repetition, exercises, and structured practice. Cognitive approaches focus on the mental processes involved in learning a second language. Learners are encouraged to analyze grammar rules, sentence structures, and vocabulary patterns. Cognitive strategies include memorization techniques, categorization of words, and practicing language in meaningful contexts. These strategies help learners internalize rules and retain new knowledge, enabling them to construct sentences and convey ideas independently rather than relying solely on imitation. Social interactionist approaches highlight the importance of meaningful communication. Language is considered a social tool, and interaction with proficient speakers accelerates learning. Conversation provides exposure to authentic language use, cultural norms, and idiomatic expressions. Social engagement allows learners to receive feedback, negotiate meaning, and practice using the language in real contexts. Immersion programs, group discussions, and collaborative tasks help develop both competence and confidence. Motivation is a critical factor in second language learning. Learners who are intrinsically motivated by personal interest, cultural curiosity, or career goals tend to achieve higher levels of proficiency. Extrinsic motivation, such as academic requirements or job advancement, can also encourage learning, but may require additional effort to maintain engagement. Age influences learning outcomes as well. Younger learners often acquire pronunciation and intonation more easily, while older learners may have advantages in understanding complex grammar and abstract concepts. Consistent exposure and practice are essential for language development. Regular listening, speaking, reading, and writing strengthen proficiency. Technology has expanded opportunities for exposure through online courses, language applications, videos, and social media interactions. Living or studying in a country where the language is spoken provides immersive experiences that combine environmental input, social interaction, and cultural understanding, which are highly effective in accelerating learning. Second language learning can occur in formal educational settings such as schools and language centers, or informally through travel, media consumption, and social interaction. Effective learning usually involves a combination of strategies including behaviorist repetition, cognitive analysis, and social practice. Over time, learners develop the ability to comprehend, produce, and engage in conversations with increasing accuracy, fluency, and confidence. They gradually expand their vocabulary, understand grammatical structures, and acquire the cultural competence needed to communicate effectively in a variety of contexts. Second language learning is a dynamic and ongoing process that blends habit formation, cognitive development, and social interaction. It requires sustained effort, consistent exposure, and active practice. Successful learners integrate multiple approaches to gradually build proficiency and fluency. This process allows individuals to communicate across cultures, access new opportunities, and enhance personal, social, and professional growth. The journey of learning a second language is not only an educational endeavor, but also a means to connect with others, understand diverse perspectives, and navigate a globalized world more effectively.